Hi, everyone, and welcome to another session on tackling the professional dilemma section of the MSRA examination. So, just in case you guys haven't met me before, I'm Roshni and I'm a GP, and I'm also very passionate about medical education and I run several courses for ACE Medics. So, the aim of these short videos is to give you all a taster of what we do during our live online full day courses and to help build your examination technique for the MSRA exam itself. So, what we usually do is we pick a question and we pick a topic and we run through this and we look more so at the rationale and the analysis behind the correct answer options. So let's just get straight into it. So on my next screen, as you can see here, we've got a question which is from the ranking aspect of the paper. So if you guys just want to go ahead and just pause the video and have a go at this question type. Okay, so hopefully you guys have had given yourself a minute or so to go through this question. So remember that for the ranking questions, we have a very clear strategy that we will go through during the course itself, and I have gone through in some of my other videos, whereby what we want to do is we want to pick firstly the most appropriate option, and then we want to rank the least appropriate option. And by doing so, and by picking the best and the worst responses, it means that we've already secured the bulk of the marks, and it also becomes easier to then play around with the remaining three options, because otherwise it can become quite overwhelming to have to deal with five options and arrange them. So let's just go through the specific scenario itself in this question. So just to read out the stem itself. So you arrive home one evening. So remember to pay really close attention to the language used and the context of the scenario itself, because everything is written there for a reason. So it tells you that you're already back home. So you're no longer in the hospital. And you then remember that you've forgotten to hand over some important information at the handover meeting. Okay, so a patient requires an urgent blood sample, which needs to be taken today, and you are back at work tomorrow morning. Okay, so this is quite a common scenario, which you may have already found yourself in if you've done a long day on call, or if you've done a duty shift or a night shift. Now, the main thing to understand here is what is this scenario testing? This scenario is clearly testing patient safety, and it's also testing your ability to cope under pressure and to sensibly manage a situation. So you've forgotten to hand over this important information, but the blood test must be done today, and you're going to be back at work tomorrow. So you do need to find a way to ensure that the blood test is done today. So any options which are compromising patient safety and are resulting in the blood test not being done will rank low. Now, just going through our options, the most sensible option would be option B, to contact the doctor covering the ward to explain the situation. The reason being is that this will allow an adequate handover and ensure that the blood test gets done in a timely manner, and it maintains patient safety. The least appropriate option would be to take the blood sample when you return to work tomorrow morning, okay? Because the question stem is telling you that this blood test needs to be done today, and therefore you cannot wait till tomorrow. For example, this could be a potassium check that needed to be repeated, and if it was left until the morning, you could be leaving a hyperkalemic patient, and they could have a cardiac arrest. So clearly, this is the most inappropriate thing to do. So now that we've got our best option and our worst option, we're now left with three different options, so A, D, and E. Now, if you're not able to contact the doctor who is covering your shift, the next most sensible thing would therefore be to just phone the ward directly and to leave a message with the nursing staff. Now, it's not the best option because but whenever we do a handover, and we talk about this in more detail during our course itself, is that you should always hand over to the clinician who's responsible for the role that you're covering. So it's not really the nurse's job to yes, they may take the blood sample, but it's not their job to then action the blood test and to interpret it. It's the role of the clinician who has requested the blood test itself. So this is why it's most sensible to contact the doctor who's covering your shift. However, given the situation that you're in, it is still better to actually phone the ward and speak to a member of staff who is responsible for that patient. Um, and it therefore is better than sending a text message to a doctor who is currently covering the ward. Now, the reason being is because if you send a text message, you are using your personal mobile phone, so you're not sure if it obviously doesn't say that you'd be breaching confidential patient information, but ideally you shouldn't be sending this sort of information on a personal mobile. So any correspondence that you do, it should be done directly by the hospital telephones. You also don't know if the message would have gone through to them, or that they've read it, or that they've got their phone on them, and that this will actually be actioned. So that's why this one would sit in the middle. It still is, however, better than option D. Now option D comes second last, and a lot of people, when we run our course and we go through this question, they find it very challenging to understand why option D would be so close to the bottom, because I know some of you, because you think you're sitting the SJT exam, and you want to do the best thing, you jump and you put D first. However, this question is testing your ability to act sensibly and to also manage things realistically, as you would in a real clinical scenario. So in the first instance, if this actually happens to you, it's not sensible to immediately return to the ward and to do a blood test. And that is purely because it demonstrates a very inappropriate work-life balance. The question has already told you that you're going to be back at work tomorrow morning. So if you're already at home and you decide to go back to the ward to do this blood test, could mean that it could result in fatigue, and it could mean that the next day you could be quite tired, and you could be making errors. But it is still better than obviously waiting till the morning, because you know that patient safety could be compromised. But this is not a high ranking option, purely because in the first instance, if this were to occur to you, there are several more sensible things that you can do. This blood test was never your job to do anyway. It was a job that was to be handed over. So it was a job for the member of staff who's covering your role. So it's not sensible for you to now decide to go back to do this blood test. All you need to do is to try and find a way to relay the information on to a member of the team. So as you guys can see, we have got our pattern whereby the top answer is always the most effective. The bottom answer is always the least appropriate and will usually breach GMC guidelines. The second most option is it's effective, but it's not the best way of handling the situation, but it is still correct. Both of these are the right thing to do to varying degrees. And both of these are the wrong thing to do to varying degrees and to varying severity. So this is not as bad as this one, but is still not correct. And in the middle sits an option which is, it's not obviously wrong, but it's neither correct either. And you will see this general theme going down the top 5 or the top 4 questions that you get. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Just to cover a bit of theory around patient safety, because this question was testing patient safety, and it also had a few themes of work-life balance itself. Okay, so this may sound a bit repetitive, but if there's one thing you take away from this little video, it's that patient safety is always going to be at the forefront of each scenario, and it's going to be the theme that takes the priority. Okay, so it's always the most important factor, and anything which doesn't prioritize this, or it results in the patient experiencing harm, is always going to be the least appropriate, or it's going to be the lowest ranking option. So therefore, you must take adequate action if you feel that if a situation has occurred where patient safety is being affected, or there's a risk of this occurring. If you are as a FY2 doctor and the scenario tells you that you're not sure what to do, or you don't feel capable of dealing with this, or you're not trained to do this specific procedure, you must also recognize this. This comes under the umbrella of patient safety, and you need to know when something's out of your remit and when to call for help. And you need to be able to gauge exactly when you do this. And the more questions that we practice together, and you'll see during our course we go through this, you'll be able to recognize when is it appropriate to ask for help and when it's appropriate to escalate. And in instances where there are errors made, it's obviously important to try and reverse it or to make amends. And you can see this in the GMC guidelines. And if there is an issue of patient harm, there is the duty of candor, which we discuss in more detail during the session, that you do have a responsibility to explain this to the patient. So as from the GMC guidelines, you must act immediately to put matters right. Okay, guys, so I hope that little section was helpful. So that was just a taster, giving you an idea of how to approach the professional dilemma section of the MSRA examination. If you found this helpful and you would like further guidance and advice on your examination, please do visit our website for more information, or please do drop us an email. We do run intensive 2-day webinars to help prepare you for this course and to maximize your score. So I hope to see you guys soon, and stay tuned for the next video. Bye.